Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the first episode. I was going to say another episode, but the first episode of the Shoot-A-Ball Pod, and an alternate of the Kick-A-Ball Pod. But we realized that there were so many more stories that we could be getting out there to tell in college basketball, and we're really appreciative of our first guest, Dyson Koehler of Weber State University, a three-point specialist, a kid who's able to drive as well as he can. He's a senior going into his last year with Weber State, and we're really excited to just be able to hear from him and his story, but. Dyson, how are you doing today, my man?
I'm doing good, you know. I appreciate you letting me be on and kind of giving a little bit of my story.
Yeah, of course. I mean, yeah, this is the kind of thing where, we realize like there's so many stories that we need to be able to get out there and tell. And if, you wanting to let us be a platform to do that, I'll always be grateful for you for that.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So, I mean, I'll get right into just this first few questions I want to ask you. I mean, with the season coming up in just a few days, I think November 4th is first tip off for you. But with um, moving into the off or moving away from the off season now into regular season now for this Wildcats team. I mean, what do you do to stay prepped, stay ready during the fall season where it's not quite out of season, but you're still integrating some of these workouts in to be ready for the winter. So what does that look like for you and this team?
I would say competing against each other, kind of getting those game-like situations, those reps. That's, in my opinion, the best way to prepare for the season is to compete and go against your teammates, kind of figure out what works in different lineups, what's the best thing for you in like your role, stuff like that. Just really competing against each other.
Yeah, no, I think they're really, are just some of the best ways to be able to do that because this isn't, it's not like, a soccer team where you got 30 guys on there as well. I mean, this is a tight knit, 15 group guy that, it's not new, for you. You've been playing with these kinds of guys, for the last few years, but
Yeah.
for some soccer guys who are coming just to see, like, I just want to make sure I throw that out there. But regardless, we'll keep this about our ball. But so I mean, with these off-season workouts and just trying, just making sure that you're able to get these reps up, get these shots in, and making sure that you're staying consistent. I mean, are there certain room where you're trying new things? Because there's always a different shot that you could practice a little bit more in certain cases, and just staying being as well as you can with, like we'll talk about a little bit later, but catch and shoot ability is something that I think that you're phenomenal with. I mean, something that really caught my eye, but is there a lot of room for you really to be able to experiment with some of these, with some certain other little play styles? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, I think Weber State has a really good skill development system. So especially this like summer, I was working a lot on playing with the ball instead of just being like a catch and shoot type of guy. I'm working into the mid range because I feel like a lot of the players that I watch in college and in the NBA have a lot of success in the mid range. So like people are saying that it's a lost art because it basically is, you know, it's either you're getting a layup or you're shooting a three, but mid range, that's basically like a high school three. So you're kind of used to shooting that for 4 years and then you kind of just go away from it. So I mean, I'm trying to get back into the mid range because even in high school, I was pretty good in the mid range.
Yeah.
So, you know, trying to get back to the roots.
No, of course, yeah. And so just to ask one more thing about this, and then I'll let you go and tell about your story though too. But how interesting of an adjustment is that for you to be able to make? I mean, you talked about being able to have that mid-range shot regardless, and just being able to drain that in high school. But with the dimensions being pushed back a little bit, and having taken being a prolific three-point shooter, it does it even if you're taking 5 steps, that's still a few feet in difference, for you to be able to adjust to. Is that something that has gone well so far, with this just off season? And I'm curious to see this play out, throughout the rest of this season though too, knowing how this is something that I'm intrigued to really be able to see.
Yeah, it's been good going back into it, you know, working out. Like, of course, when you don't have any defense, it's been good. But you definitely see like trying to play at your own pace. especially when you go into the mid range. You try not to get sped up because in college, there's definitely a lot more athletic and longer guys on the floor. So you might have to take only one dribble to get into the mid range instead of taking two. And also at my size, like I can get from the 3 point range to almost the basket in one dribble. So you
Right.
kind of have to play like angles right per se, but it's been pretty good.
Yeah, 6'7", 220 pounds certainly helps a lot though too. And that's been a huge part of, you being able to use your frame to the advantage as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Like another thing I'll bring up a little bit though too, and I'll talk about it a little bit now, but we've talked about your shooting ability, but I like that you're not afraid to be able to take a drive, even if there's someone out there in the paint. And I think that's something that just has been a part of your mindset. It's something that you need to have a part of your game to be successful at the college level. But I mean, was that ever a lapse in your own mind, or was just that something that you've always had the confidence really to be able to go ahead and get after that?
I would say like my dad, he definitely built me into the player I am today, being more fundamental. So I would say like cutting is a really good way to get like easy baskets, just going to the rim. I would say driving and being like a ball handler, that just comes with repetition going against guys in practice and trying new things because preparation is the best thing for confidence. So I would say that doing that in practice and kind of breaking out of your boundaries, not too much that you're going to get in trouble with like the coach, but like just doing little different movements to kind of get a feel for it. Yeah, I feel like that's been something that I've been working on.
All right, and all a part of, just making sure that you're able to give yourself the best chance to be able to play at that next level though too, which maybe been flying a little bit under the radar, but for people who have been watching Weber State and see the Big Sky Conference, you're not somebody that people are just looking over your name and being like, oh, whatever. You're somebody that is circled, I think, for every match. I mean, at least the ones that I've been studying up on. I mean, it's been a while since we started talking before. And I've had a lot of time really to prep, and I really liked what I've been able to see though too.
Yeah, for sure.
So, so I'll let you take, for as much time as you want to get into, your own individual journey from your first memories of playing basketball up until, let's say, the college recruitment process. I want to hear as much as you're willing to give me, and I want to hear the context of, where we've got you right now as a senior at Weber State. Let me know every part of your journey as a young kid playing ball.
Yeah, I'll start with I started basketball at the age of 4. I was brought into it because my dad used to play and my older brother, he would play. So kind of just watching my brother shoot outside kind of gave me just like the instincts to attach to basketball. And then I want to fast forward to, I want to say fifth and sixth grade. That's when I started doing like actual competitive leagues, like junior jazz, which is like the youth basketball in Utah. Um, Doing that, playing a little bit, and the first memory that I have was just always being tall. So
Right
I was playing the center, and I do remember my brother was the coach of my junior jazz team, and we lost in the championship, and I played awful, and I was so like mad at myself that the trophy, because it's like a participation trophy, like everyone gets a trophy. I ended up breaking the trophy because I was so mad at how I played. I threw it on the ground in anger because like I felt like I let the team down. But then I kind of hopped around a little bit of uh AAU, but within like Utah, so we didn't go travel or anything. And then my dad started up AAU team called the Alpha Dogs, and that was in like eighth grade. And from there, I was being coached by my dad, or no, I want to say seventh grade is when I was kind of being with my dad, and he taught me everything basically, like fundamentally. But and he was kind of like a bigger forward. He's like 6'3", 6'4",
Yeah.
and could jump out of the gym. So he was kind of like a athletic four man. So he was teaching me post moves and all that. And then um my dad was like, "All right, Utah competition is not gonna get you to where you want to be, which is the NBA." So he was like, we're gonna put you on a travel team." So I joined Hard Knocks, which had players that are pretty big in college right now, like Dallin Hall, BYU,
Yeah.
point guard, Mason Falsev, he's at Utah State, Andre Mulabea, he's at Coastal Carolina right now, Jace Whiting, who's at UNLV now, um, Baylor Harrop, Jake Sampson. We were just the best from like
That's an
really good
all-star
players.
team, bro.
Yeah,
That's
pretty good team from Utah. And I remember the first tournament was in Portland, and I was I didn't want to like say it myself, but I was like scared out of my mind because I was like playing out of state. I've never like I'm a guy that was like known as the best player, so like they're just giving me the ball. Like in AAU, you kind of have to make something of yourself in a
yeah.
sense. Like you gotta kind of be a playmaker to get your stuff. And
Mhm.
I also didn't know any of the players, so I was like, this is weird. I've been playing on the same AAU team for a couple years and I don't know any of these guys. And they've been playing for, I think they were playing 2 years with each other as well. And then we won that Portland tournament, which was great. Then we went to a tournament in California and played Compton Magic, I believe. I think we played Compton Magic,
Oh yeah.
and it was their tournament. And I don't want to say anything, but the refs were doing some home cooking. We lost by 20. And then later in the year, we ended up playing them again.
Right.
And oh wait, I think that was another year. So after that AAU season, I went into high school basketball.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was the starting freshman center. I was the big forward. High school, I was like, yes, I'm playing some high school ball. And um, Jordan High School, the high school that I went to, during that time was in like a slump. They didn't make the tournament for I think 3 years in a row, like the
Okay.
postseason tournament. So I was like, I I'm here because my brother went here, so it's like kind of an easy adjustment as well. And I was like, I want to come here and win. So I was the starting center. We played really well. Ended up finishing, I think we tied third in the region. So we ended up going to the tournament. We won the first round against Fremont and then ended up losing to a powerhouse in Lone Peak High School. They had that year they had Stephen Ashworth, who's at Creighton,
Oh,
and Chantry Ross, who just lit us up. They couldn't miss. Um, and then going back into AAU, I had the jitters out. I understood the players. We ended up playing in a California tournament again, and we played Compton Magic in the championship, and we destroyed them. We beat them by 22, and we were like, it had to be a fluke. Like it had to be the refs. But also with like the AAU tournament, like with Hard Knocks, we ended up playing in something called the Indie Hoop like championships. So it was like the best eighth grade uh like tournament.
Right.
and we finished third in that tournament. And the team that we lost to was Thunderstruck that had Scotty Barnes on the team,
Oh, jeez.
and he was uh he was he was really skinny, but he had like a motor that was like, I'm not gonna let you score the ball. So he was a really good challenge. Marjon Beauchamp was on that in that tournament as well. So it was a great tournament. Finished third, had a great experience, and then we ended up going. So then I'm gonna go to sophomore year.
Mm,
I just came off of being one of the top scoring forwards in the league with or in the state with 8.3 points my freshman year. So then I was like, all right, sophomore year, we kind of gotta improve. We gotta show improvement. And ended up averaging 16 points, and we tied for first in the league that year. So that was a great experience. Ended up winning the region championship, I think off of like a tiebreaker. And
mm,
then ended up losing the first round. Was upset about that, but it happens. And then the Hard Knocks team ended up switching over to XM Elite, which is was an Adidas gauntlet team. And it was fun playing on the Adidas circuit. Got to play with a lot of coaches watching, and it was a lot of great experience. Got to go to New York, which was great. I've never been on like the East Coast.
mm,
I've always been a West Coast type of guy.
mm,
So it was a great experience, traveling, playing against good competition. I don't think we kind of had like a rocky little time, but it was still a good experience. Then junior year of high school, I was like, all right, got to keep on improving.
yeah.
And um, I ended up averaging 21 points, like 6 rebounds, and we won the region again. And but this time it was like a little bit, or no, yeah, we won the region, and uh, we were very confident in the team, and we were going into the we were going into the tournament playing Wasatch Academy,
Okay.
who had Caleb Lohner, who was at Baylor playing on their team, I want to say a year ago, but now he plays football at the U. And they had uh, Madi Sissoko, who's at Cal now. Man, I can't even remember their roster, but they were a stacked team. Um, like Tristan Onaruna was committed to Kansas, and we came into that game, and I played really well. We were down by, I want to say 4 with like 6 minutes left.
Mm,
And then I got my fourth foul, so I had to sit the bench, and we ended up losing by like 15. But it was a great experience for us to go into the tournament playing against such good competition that we in the tournament ended up going to the championship to play against our rivals in Corner Canyon, who had Gabe Toombs, Hayden Welling, who's at Utah Valley right now, and was just at UC Irvine. We we played Corner Canyon, our rivals. We haven't lost to them. I've hit 3 buzzer beaters on them, and they came in and smacked us in the mouth. We lost by
mm,
20 in the championship. Heartbroken, and it was at Weber State. The tournament was at Weber State. So I was like, I was I felt accomplished that like I got to, go to the championship, but I was like, that stings. Like we should have won the whole thing. So I was like, all right, we're gonna go into next year. We're gonna be better. We're going up in a classification because we were in 5A, which is like the second highest, and then we were going into 6A the next year, which would have been the highest. So going into that summer, I switched from XM Elite to Jimmer Elite, which was an Under Armour team, and had fun. Played with Madi Sissoko again,
Mm.
who's at Cal, Richie Saunders, who's at BYU. Got to play with those guys, and I want to say a tournament in Atlanta. I ended up rolling my ankle really bad, and that kind of transitioning into the season like really affected me because my ankle has never been the same. It's always like tight. Like my ankle after 3 months of rolling it was just like still getting swollen. So I was like, this sucks. And then with the success that I had my junior year, senior year, teams started to lock in on me and everything like that. And they saw the big offers that I was getting from the state with Utah, BYU. I had Vermont, Cal Poly, and I want to say Dixie, which is Utah Tech now.
Yeah.
Um, I had those type of schools kind of like reaching out to me, and I was like, all right, this is going to be a tough year. I'm not like people know who I am. They're when they go into a game, they're trying to stop me.
Yeah.
And so I had a down year that year. I averaged 19. Um, Went into the tournament, won the first game, had a almost had a 2020 game. Um, Second round, Sky Ridge. Probably one of the funnest games that I played in high school. Second round against Duncan Reed, who is at Southern Utah, and what's oh Housley, Brandon Housley, who's at Utah State,
Mhm.
and we played them, went to double overtime. Housley fouls me when I'm getting ready to shoot like a half court shot, but they called it on like the drive or whatever. So I got two free throws. We're down by two. I shoot the first free throw short, but it goes in.
Jeez.
And there's like zero point 0.3 seconds on on the clock. So second shot, they call a timeout, go to the line or go to the timeout, talk about it, go back to the line. I'm like, all right, I shot the first one short. I'm gonna shoot the second one like harder. So it's like nothing but net. Shot it, back rim, end of my high school career. And um I ended up being the all-time leading scorer at my high school and rebounder. Um, and it was ready to go to college, and I committed to go to Cal Poly. I always wanted to live in California, so it was just a great opportunity.
Mm.
Um, Went there, got to meet a lot of new guys and kind of experience like I was the only person in that draft class that wasn't from California.
Mm.
So like Cameron Pierce, Kobe Sanders, like Aiden Prukop, it
Yeah.
was like Brantley. I was like, I can't really relate to them because they all grew up playing against each other like
Mhm.
in high school. And I was just like the only outlier. I was like, wow, this is crazy. But it was also difficult, it was COVID, didn't really have the opportunity to work out as well.
Mm.
So I like everyone, got out of shape. I was 240 going in there. I was 240, really pudgy, and um was like, oh, I'll just work it off. And then we got there, was weightlifting, everything like that. It was really tough, first year. And like the coaches were like, you're gonna be working, like we're working out really hard. We're doing workouts a lot, we're practicing a lot. So you got to eat a lot because to maintain. So my weight didn't really go down that much. I probably went down to 238 around there. Played and kind of going back to what I was talking about with AAU, you kind of had to be more of a playmaker. But I was so used to being the guy at my high school where plays are ran for me. So I
Yeah.
didn't really have to, so I knew I was going to get a shot. Like at any point in the game, there's going to be a play ran, I'm going to get a shot. But in college, these guys can play and they're able to create. And if you can't do that, you're not going to score
Yeah.
unless you are maybe a shooter that can like hit your first three,
Hmm.
and then they're going to be like, all right, I can start passing it up to you. And because of like my build, because I'm already like a bigger guy, I was playing more traditional four, so I was kind of more of a post up,
Right.
kind of stretch a little bit. But I want to say I was playing kind of like a connector because I was trying to fit in. I was trying to find ways to have
Right.
playing time, and I was the guy that was going to do the one more pass or the extra pass. I'm trying to play basketball the right way because that's how my dad taught me.
Yeah.
So that really didn't work for me, and um, I was I was thinking about transferring after the season. I wasn't really enjoying my time, and I've never really said it publicly, but I got my scholarship taken away. I
Mm.
I I didn't transfer to transfer. I got my scholarship taken away. So I was like, oh, like this is a real business.
Right. Yeah.
Like when I was told that we're not gonna have you back next year, my heart dropped. I was like, what am I gonna do? Um, so I put my name in the portal, and luckily Weber State, Coach Ray called me and was like, hey, like I like your game. We don't care about the numbers. We feel like you weren't playing your right position. Um, we like you. And I was like, all right, I'm committing.
Yeah.
Like if you understand from watching the games and seeing how uncomfortable I was playing, then it was great.
Mhm.
And I got like sick getting ready to go transfer over. So I didn't end up like playing a lot. Like in the summer, I was able to like work out, but I wasn't able to do any like contact. But my first year, I was at Weber with an old group, a veteran group because of the COVID year being granted. So um, our team was stacked. We had Kobe McEwen, who transferred from Marquette. We had JJ Overton, who went from Utah Valley to us. Dante Bassett, who was there the year prior, but he was a Florida transfer at one time. Um, Sigu Sissoko Jawara, he was an all league player the year before I got there. Dylan Jones was all Big Sky freshman. Um, we had Zahir Porter. I don't think he got any accolades, but he was a 50, 40, 90, averaging 12 the year before. And KJ Cunningham, who was a starting point guard the year prior, like a couple years prior, so he had like a lot of experience. So
Mhm.
our team was stacked. And kind of like what I said with the player development, it really like helped me because I was like, this is how like your player development is. Like
Mhm.
I feel like I'm actually like getting better. So I knew with the older guys, I was just gonna be there kind of learn and kind of nitpick from some of the guys. And, my time was gonna be somewhat limited, but I played the four mostly. Like we had like a we had a small lineup where I played the majority of my time. When we put Dylan at the five, me at the four, JJ at the three, Kobe at the one, Sigu at the two. That's when I played the most. And I didn't take a lot of shots, but I shot 40% from three that year. So I was like, that was my role. But my defense was atrocious. Like, I want to say, like, ISO, it was bad, but like some help defense, I was pretty good. It was just more of like my foot speed just wasn't there at the time.
Mhm.
And we we were one of the best teams like in the Big Sky. We started the season 8-0, one of the I want to say one of the last 11 teams that were undefeated in the country.
I think so, yeah.
We started conference 11-1, and then teams just figured us out and we had a total flip and we ended up finishing fourth in the league when we were clear one the majority of the time. And we got to the quarterfinal against Montana State.
This is this
And
past year?
this was my
So, okay.
first year,
Yep.
first year at Weber. So Montana State, we punched them in the mouth. We were up, I want to say like 15 at one time. And then they brought it close, ended up losing off of uh missed game tying three. We were all heartbroken. Um, it was really upsetting. We thought that was like a really good year for us, because of like how well defensively we were and like how offensively like powerhouse we were as well, but it just didn't go our way. And then I got sick again, but this time I needed surgery to help me like get through everything. And I was gonna be out two months after the surgery. So I got it September September 21st of 2022, which is like pretty close to um the start of the season with that 2 months. So I don't think I played the first four or 3 or 4 games of the year, um, which sucked because like it basically took my whole summer away. I didn't really get the opportunity to kind of like work on my game as much because I got sick. Like I found out that I was sick prior to the surgery. It was like more earlier in the summer when I found out. So I basically didn't have a lot of training. So that's about 3 years of not really getting um the proper workout or work in the summer to kind of improve the game that I wanted to. Um, so going into my second year, just came off of the surgery and I was ready to play. We we started the season off really rough. I think we started 2-7. Then we play Cal Poly, my old team in San Luis Obispo, beat them by 20. We're like, oh, oh yeah, we're starting to get the hang of this. Then we go to Utah State. They were, I want to say 10-0 at the time,
Yeah,
their
me.
home court, and we were down by 18 and ended up coming back, winning the game. And I played pretty well, 12 points. Don't really remember the rebounds, but played played well. And that was kind of like the switch for our team from starting 2-7, and we ended up kind of tracking back and doing better. I think we definitely could have started off a lot better, but we were just figuring stuff out with a coaching change. We had transfers that kind of were taught different stuff at their old program, so we kind of had like a little bit of a transition kind of mess up. Then going into the tournament, we win first round, then go second round against Montana State again, go into a double overtime, and then we lose that in the double overtime. Uh, Again, another heartbreaking loss. Don't feel too great about it. Then summertime, I'm all healthy, starting to work out again, and everything's good. I feel like it's my first year that I have like a full summer, and we brought back our whole starting five from the year prior. Um, so we were ready to go, and we had Dylan, who was projected preseason MVP. He went to um the draft after our sophomore year
Okay.
to or he went to the combine and then played well, and then it was kind of like a last moment thing that he decided to come back. So then we were like, this is going to be a good year for us. We're going to play. We have our whole starting five back. We're getting ready, and then second game of the season, St. Mary's. We were the whole entire summer we were talking about St. Mary's, that like every little mess up that we do, St. Mary's is going to capitalize on. So I feel like we were really prepared for St. Mary's going into that game. And um, going into that game, we didn't feel like we were the underdog. We felt like this is a very winnable game. We're like, if we do our stuff right, we're going to win this game. Playing, go down again, double digits, and f just threw a couple of different defenses at them, ended up working out in our favor, and ended up winning the game. It was a great experience, but we weren't really like too high on it because we expected to win. Like we didn't go into the game like, oh, we're gonna lose. So like even watching the game, like at the end of the game, we're all walking to the line to go shake hands. Like nobody was like really excited because we really believed that we were gonna win. And you know, I didn't have a great game. I'll be the first one to say it. I didn't have a great game, but I think that was kind of like a good moment for us as a team because like we fought through adversity. We were down. We couldn't make shots, and then we just ended up clawing our way back and winning. And we had a tournament game in Canada, and we played Yale. We played Gardner Webb, Yale, then Colgate, and we lost Gardner Webb, beat Yale, and lost to Colgate. And I didn't play too great in the tournament. And after we got back, um, our head coach, Coach Duff, brought me in and was like, "Hey, I just want to talk to you and just say like, I think you're thinking way too much." And I was like, I agree with you. I mean, I'm trying to relieve pressure from our two best players statistically, like Dylan, NBA player. Steven was our best shooter and one of the best shooters that I've seen in person. Like the way he works out is crazy. And I was like, as like one of the third like scoring options, I'm trying to relieve pressure from them. And I was like, I was telling him that, and he was like, don't worry about that. Like, I think you're so focused on making shots that you just kind of have to just shoot them and not also like focus on just shooting threes, like do different stuff. And I was like, yeah, like I know I'm a capable shooter. Like I'm surprised when I missed shots because I'm so confident in my three and I feel like I can shoot it at any point in time in a game.
I agree.
So kind of started doing more with cutting and that just opened my game up a lot more. Just cutting was opening up my 3-point shot is what I'll say. And I ended up turning it around, getting a few 20-point games, getting a lot of double figure games. Um, so it was great. And then uh, going to the end of the season, we're second place currently, and we're playing Montana State and if we win, we stay in second, but if we lose, we go to fourth.
Mhm.
And something about Montana State going to their place and drop an egg, and now we drop to fourth. And the fifth place team who we're going to play is again Montana State. So we're playing them in the tournament, and we went into the game really confident. We didn't have a really good defensive showing, so we were like, we're going to come out and like punch them in the mouth. So in the tournament, we came in and we played really good defense, and we were all locked in, pretty focused. Second half, I want to say we're up by like 8, and then there's a few scores going back and forth, back and forth. Then there's the first media, and then they just go on a run, and they ended up hitting, I think, 13 threes. They ended up scoring 62 points in the second half, and we ended up losing. And that was that was a tough one. Um, Especially because like some of the guys that I was with I've been with for like a while. Like KJ was a senior, he was graduating. Steven, it was his second year, but he was like a really close friend. And then Dylan was my roommate.
Yeah.
Um, so it was kind of like upsetting that like this is the last time I'm gonna be playing basketball with these guys. So it was upsetting. And then that that's kind of the end. It was kind of a long story of like
Mm.
my but that's now we're here. Had a pretty good summer, getting ready for the season to start.
And so I want to ask, I'm going really far back though too, but I know, with the support that you've had from your father really most of your life, your entire life, I would say. When do you think he realized that you were someone who would be able to play at that high level? And is he still someone that you rely on really, to this day to look for certain things with advice? I know he was your coach for most of your life though too.
Yeah, both of my parents and my brother have supported me.
Mhm.
Everyone, I have a huge support system. I want to say my dad knew, I want to say eighth, no, I don't even know when he knew, but like it was more of the fact that like it's what I wanted.
Yeah.
It's the fact that I wanted it. He was like, "Do you actually like?" I think every year he asked me until I actually went to college. He was like, like, do you want to go to college? Like, do you want it? And I'd tell him yes, and he's like, all right. And then he would train me to like college player. Like in high school, I was doing college workouts. Like he was training me for college, and then he was just like, if you really want it, like you have to put the work in. So it was more of like the fact that I would say that I want to be in the NBA because he doesn't care if I want to be, or he doesn't care if like he didn't want me to be in the NBA. It's because I want to be. It's not like his goal. So
Mm. And I know I went really far back though too, but I want to go back to the conversation, you know, where you left off though too. But I mean, how do you make sure that you're staying focused this year though too? I mean, you know, we talk about Montana State, you know, with some of these matches though, but or with matches with some of these games in the past, but how do you make sure that you're staying focused in, you know, like what you mentioned at the beginning of the interview, allowing yourself to be able to develop a mid-range shot and adding that part to your own game, being again, I mean, improving your ability to be one of these primary scorers for the Wildcats.
yeah, I want to say my focus is just like the enjoyment of basketball.
Mm.
Like I just enjoy playing basketball. I love being around basketball. Like I'm watching NBA games, I'm watching NBA highlights, I'm watching college highlights. It's just like I just really enjoy basketball. It's just that's what kind of keeps me focused. It's like it's not like something that like I don't know how to explain it. It's just I enjoy it. I love it. It's just something that keeps me grounded, I guess.
It's not something that you think about. It's just something that's just always been like a love of yours, and it's not something
Yeah.
that you got to think too far into. This is just it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
And I think that goes into even your play style though, too. What Coach Ray was telling me though too, like, yo, don't worry about um taking so much off your other guys. Play your game. Let your game be effortless. Let your skills be effortless. Let your strengths be effortless.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, I think the mental game of any sport, especially at a high level like we were saying. I mean, you've been surrounded by guys who were college bound, guys who phenomenal college players your entire career, really, your entire competitive career. But it still goes back to the idea of staying competitive with yourself, wanting the best, but allowing that to flow through your game. Like there's such this mental aspect that I think sometimes gets looked over a little bit, but I know it's something that gets looked over as the fan perspective. Like that's not something that I feel like ever really passes your own mind. Or if I'm speaking out of my ass, let me know. But
No, no, you're not.
this coming from a dude who never really played competitive ball, but was always surrounded by just guys who were doing that. But you know, I really speak from my experience just as an outsider. And so that's probably why I like talking with guys like you who want to, you know, give me the chance to talk to you. But um now, I mean, I think it's just such an interesting part of just the game that I like being able to just pick your guys' brains about that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. It's great what you're doing because like not a lot of athletes like go through the same stuff,
Mm.
but in some ways they do like end up coming back and connecting to other athletes where you can kind of see like, oh, like that makes sense. But it's good to see like other people's stories. It's
No.
great.
And I want to get into, I mean, I know, you know, I know the expectations are high for the Big Sky coming into this next year though too. I mean, everyone's a year older. You have this experience. You got I mean, I was looking at a few of the other recruits though that have came in though too. Like they bring in other different elements. I know some of them, some correct me if I'm wrong, but some of them do have this mid-range shot that they've been able to bring in. So that's another thing that I think Coach Ray could experiment with. But I mean, what I found interesting though too, I mean, two 6 game winning streaks really across Big Sky opponents during the regular season. And you know, these are teams like Montana and Idaho and teams across the West Coast. Sacramento State is another one that I saw on that schedule. But you know, when you guys get hot, you get hot. Tell me about some of these other little blip, not excuse me, not blip, but little pinpoint periods really for this team.
Um, yeah. So Coach Duff is our head coach now, and
Oh, yes. Sorry.
no, it's fine. He he does a really good job of like keeping us grounded, I'd say. Like after we win the game, the next day it's over with, basically. So we go into our next game with a clean like slate. We're not thinking about like, oh, we're about to play Montana and Montana State. Like we beat St. Mary's, we should destroy them. They're completely different teams, different environments. So Duff does a really good job of like keeping us grounded and understanding that like the other team doesn't care that you won against St. Mary's. They're coming, they're not coming to play St. Mary's, they're coming to play you. So that's kind of how we're able to go into winning streaks like that.
And yeah, I apologize. Eric Duft. I mean, I don't know how that came
No,
across.
it's fine.
That's my fault, but I appreciate that. Um, yeah, no, but I mean, it's this next game up mentality. I think is also just consistent across any sport. Again, nothing that you don't already know. I mean, but I mean, I think. Do you think that that's something that is customary for most coaches, or is that something that I feel like, I mean, because I've heard some environments where they'll ride the high of a particular game and that'll stretch or that'll theoretically stretch into other games. But I think being able to hold this team accountable for the next game, not worrying about the results in the past, I think that's more conducive to success? Have you been in environments where it can change on and off sometimes, or it really has just been next game up and that's it? That's where your mindset really has been.
It's really been just next game up. Like I want to say the coaches always remind us in practice the next day. Like in film, we talk about the game, how good things, bad things. Then we go out on the court and it's a different thing. Like if he sees us being sluggish or anything, we're gonna run. If you're not like if you're just taking your sweet time, not playing fast enough, you're gonna run the stairs. Like it's stuff like that. Like he just reminds us that like, hey, that game's over with. Like now it's the next game. We got to focus on the next opponent. So,
Yeah. And so, what about the schemes though that Deft runs as well? I mean, I know we've talked about what you've been able to do and where your role has fit, but in the past, it's been this guy who's been able to catch and shoot, get his three on the wing, or being able to drive, go again, using your frame, being able to do what you need to do, but also giving you the trust to experiment and get better with this mid-range shot. How much trust do you think Coach Duft, and I'm sure these have been conversations that you've had with him as well, though, too, but to, to trust you to work on a different facet of the game that you've had, but maybe not quite been able to showcase at the level of your three-point shot in the college level. How important has that really been for you in this locker room to have that confidence from coaches?
it's been very important. Like they see the work that we put in. We're working with like assistant coaches, getting extra shots up. So they see the work that we're putting in. So they understand like you're trying to do new things, you're trying to expand your game. So they put a lot of confidence. Like Coach Duff knows like what you can do and what you can't do. Like if you're not showing it in practice or showing doing it in workouts, he's gonna be like, "What are you doing? You
Right.
don't do that." But if he sees it and he actually sees you working out, like working on your game, he understands a lot more and is like, if we're doing scrimmages or we're doing it in if you're doing that move in a game, he sees you put the work in.
And I think that goes into this conversation though too. I mean, it's so much different from, I mean, there's no direct play drawn up like a college football game, but there's so much more that needs to be taken on with this communication between you and the rest of these guys. And that goes back to Coach Duff and the assistant coaches and the guys who, are on the bench to start but come in and enter into these schemes though too. Has that become, I mean, I imagine this is just second nature for you to be able to go ahead and communicate, work in these younger guys who maybe are seeing certain schemes and getting used to this for the first time. But, when we look at some of these in-game um, tapes, I know that there's some analysts that come out there and they say, oh, well, they need time off the court to be able to look and be able to get these certain schemes down. Like, what is that? I mean, I'm sure that's frustrating on your end, even if it's not about Weber State. But if someone says something, and you're watching a game and an analyst says something like that, that's just that feels disingenuous because that discredits the way I feel like you and these guys have really put in off the court. Like it's not just the inexperience in these games, but it's the work that needs to be put in outside that is just second nature for you guys, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're not in our practices. They're not watching us work. They're not seeing us do the extra shooting. So like you can't really do anything about it when they say that stuff. You just gotta go out and prove them wrong, basically. That's the best way to do it.
Does it become difficult? I mean, as you've gone up in levels in competitive basketball from AIU to Cal Poly and now Weber State, what I would consider a nationally known program that people around college basketball recognize. Does it become difficult sometimes to hear certain things and to just drown it out? I mean, I know you being a senior is something that you're used to more often than not, and it's not uh, I really don't expect it to be something that you're thinking of so much. But if it's troubling a freshman, what are you telling that guy to just let him know, like, what's in practice stays in practice. And you know what goes on, but you can't convince everyone.
Yeah, I mean, just going back, like we're it's they don't know what we're doing like together. It's just basketball. You don't have to put so much pressure on it. Like you're just out there having fun. Like that's I feel like a lot of athletes nowadays don't understand that basketball is supposed to be fun. Like the sport that you play is supposed to be fun. Like you're putting so much pressure on it. Like, oh, I gotta do this so I can get like Instagram followers. I gotta do this to get more points or something like it's just like just have fun. Like you play better when you're having fun.
And from what we can look at with you moving forward, though, too. I mean, what do you think? Do you think there are other things that, with age, you're now bringing more to this team or certain things that are different? What do you think that, me as someone from New York who's going to be tuning into Weber State games, really to watch you, really thinking like, hey, this is a dude who gave me the chance to, come on this random podcast. That's going to be, just trying to build, storytelling in college basketball. What can I expect from the kind of player that I'm going to see from your senior year?
Um, I want you to see someone that is um enjoying basketball, having a great time, and being just I want to have a little bit more of like expression this year because last year I was a little bit like go with the flow. I want to have a little bit more of uh like an ass kicker, some people would say. Like I just want to be more assertive in that way. Like I want you to see someone that is being assertive, not shying away from anything and just ready for the challenge that comes up. Like whatever team is next, I want you to see that I'm ready for the challenge.
What do you want people to see from this Weber State team?
Um, I want them to see us win a championship.
I do
Um,
too. I do too.
um, I think they're gonna see uh, a lot of togetherness. I want them to see great communication and us showing off our ability to shoot the ball.
Now, my final question before we close this out, and I'll give you the minute at the end of the interview though too, in case there's anything I missed or anything you want to continue to talk about. But I'll leave the floor to you after I just asked this last thing. But your process of continuing to get better. I mean, we've seen certain tangible skill sets that you're going to be able to implement this year and just add this extra facet, be even more valuable to this Wildcats team than you've already been. But your process of mentally staying strong, mentally getting better, through the last roughly 7 to 8 years of you really playing at this high level, from seventh grade onward, um, you know, even now, as far removed as you are from where you started, what keeps you continuously motivated to keep getting better and just to keep pushing this goal of eventually making the NBA?
Um, Knowing that someone out there is trying to take your spot, and also knowing that you are in a great position. I'm in a great position. I have school paid for. I'm about to get my degree. Like if I'm not producing, I guess, um that's kind of like taking it away from someone else that is putting in a lot of work that maybe doesn't get like the notoriety or the eyes that they're actually like a real good player. Like I I do it for myself as well. Again, going back on just enjoying basketball and uh just seeing myself play professionally, NBA, overseas, I'd see myself playing. And which means that I have to keep getting better.
Well, you know what, Dyson, I have full faith that you'll be able to do that. And and I'm not just saying that after having the conversation with you, but from what I've been able to see and from what we've talked about, you've got a supporter in me. You got supporter in the rest of Shoot a Ball, the rest of your way, however far, that will it end up taking you. But again, like I mentioned before, I'd like to give you the minute in case there's anything that's on your mind that you want to put out there that young kids may end up seeing this episode, and it'll be put out there. But I want to give you the chance to say anything in case I couldn't get to it at some point.
Oh, we got this is the most I've talked in so long, so we got it all. I
Yeah,
appreciate you letting me come on here though. Like it means a lot. I really don't do these things. I'm not the best public speaker or speaker. I don't enjoy talking about myself too much. I'm just there, but I really appreciate it.
absolutely. I'll always be appreciative of you for wanting to give us a chance to, let your story be told through here. But nothing but the best for you regardless, bro.
Thank you.
Good luck on the season.
Appreciate it.